But one story which has really been at the helm of the FMCG growth in the country has been the Godrej Group. So let's welcome on board Mr. Adi Godrej, the chairman at the Godrej Group, joining us. Mr. Godrej, morning. Thank you so much for being part of ETNA's journey. It gives us great pleasure, in the fact that you could join us today on our special day.
Yes, congratulations on completing 9 years.
Thank you so much. And congratulations really, Mr. Godrej, on being part of the helm. When we look back at how the year gone by has been, and when we dissect within markets which are the sectors which have outperformed, it continues to be FMCG which is at the helm of the growth story. And in 2018 itself, the sector has given growth of about almost 13.5%. Tell us a little bit more about how the landscape from here onwards is going to change. Is it going to continue to be urban which is going to overtake the rural segment, or do you think rural can dominate what the urban trends have been like? And can you manage to really beat this growth level of 13.5% in the year to come?
I think growth will be good. GST is fully in place. GST is adding a lot of value to the economy, particularly to the FMCG sector. Growth will be good. I think both rural and urban growth will be good. The monsoon is expected to be very good this year. So all the indications are that there will be strong growth in the FMCG sector in the quarters to come.
So what kind of volume numbers could we look at, Mr. Godrej? And this is just per se at an industry level. I'm not getting into company specific details here. In FY16, the FMCG sector posted a volume growth of about 6.5%. In FY17, you actually saw a dip come by of about 5.9%, but that was more than made up by the kind of jump that we saw in FY19. And the industry per se managed a growth in excess of 9%. What could we stare at in the next fiscal?
I think it will be good, but I wouldn't like to make any particular predictions. Growth will be good, but to give a number would be unrealistic, because we'll have to see how the year pans out.
But given all the systems in place, you've got a good monsoon, it has been on time up until now, and hopefully the spread across the country as well should be okay. You're saying all the GST disruption is in place right now. Do you think the industry can at least match up to the FY18 growth, if not really better it? If you could give us some indication.
Yes, FY18 it should be better than the FY18 growth, because FY18 for various reasons wasn't optimal, and growth has been improving over the last couple of quarters, and particularly in April, June of FY18 the growth was not good, because that was the quarter prior to the introduction of the GST, and because of some items having lower taxes in GST than earlier, there was some downstocking. So that was not a very good quarter for the FMCG sector. And this year, April, June should be much better than last April, June. And the following quarters too, in my mind, would be better. So certainly better than FY18 in FY19.
Yeah, Mr. Godrej. Are you concerned about what's happening with oil prices and what that means for oil derivatives, which are key raw materials for yourself and for the industry? Is the industry bracing for tougher times when it comes to margin management?
It could be. Raw material prices could rise, because oil prices are much higher than they were about a year ago. And of course, there is an OPEC meeting. And OPEC is also concerned that they are not producing enough volume. So I think they may take a decision to increase the volume, and then the prices may come down somewhat. So clearly there will be some inflationary impact, not just oil, but there are other inflationary impacts.
What would that mean, that we would see perhaps more price hikes in FY19 than we've seen in the past? Is the industry bracing for a time when, you know, the burden will be passed on to the consumer? What would be a prudent strategy to, you know, manage the situation as is right now, Mr. Godrej?
But right now prices are much lower than they used to be, because under GST the rates are lower and that has been passed on to the consumer. So even if there are some price increases that have to be taken because of the inflationary impact and the raw material effect, prices would still be lower than what they were generally a couple of years ago.
Let's talk about your business then, Mr. Godrej, and I especially want to understand what's happening on an international level and whether or not there is a pickup and resolution coming in for your Indonesian markets, and can we really see a meaningful revival come by?
Yes, Indonesia is picking up again, and we expect to do much better in FY19 in Indonesia than we did in FY18.
Could you give us a sense on how, you know, for your own company, for Godrej Consumers, are you looking at this entire trend of garnering more market share for organized players versus the unorganized players with the rollout of GST? We still have to see the numbers come up when it comes to GST collections, but you know, that whole theme when GST was being implemented was about how this would be a great opportunity for organized players such as yourself to expand more, to penetrate into deeper pockets and gain more market share. Are you seeing those signs play out? Are you seeing that trend build into reality?
Definitely. We are seeing our shares increase. We are seeing our penetration increasing. And it's not a question of organized versus unorganized. It's more a question of those who are tax compliant doing better than those who are not tax compliant. Because under the GST regime, it is not possible to dodge taxes.
So as a strategy, Mr. Godrej, you know, one has seen a 6% domestic volume growth. Godrej Consumer, as we understand, has underperformed as compared to others. What would you attribute this reason to? I mean, why this underperformance when at a time we've seen some of your peers, both in the urban as well as rural markets, fare really well?
No, it's a question of categories. Categories have fared differently because in some categories there were GST price effects, in some categories there were not. So each category has fared differently. But overall, Godrej Consumer Products has done well. Half our business comes from outside India.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about what is the outlook on new product development, and as a percentage of sales when it comes to your India business, as I understand, that was to be the new focus. So what is it that we are seeing on new product development?
Products being launched. We are doing a lot of new work in R&D which is come to fruition. And you will see a lot of launches during this financial year, which will also help our operations in this financial year.
What categories would it be, if you could give us some indication on that?
It's across the board. It's
okay.
In all our categories, particularly in household insecticides and hair color.
Right. Mr. Godrej, it's been great speaking with you on this very special day as we celebrate our 9th anniversary. And
good talking to you. Thank you. And all the best.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. And like Aisha pointed out, it's great that you've supported us so much over the last 9 years. We really value that.